while you're here, pin yourself. Where are you from today?
Carrie's there as well. Hey, Carrie.
Some new names. Hello.
I love your whiteboard. That's just awesome. Lots of doodling. Is that your real kind of whiteboard you've got there? Yeah. Love it. Shall we give it another minute and then we probably start going?
Yeah, guys, while we're waiting, just click on this picture to see where you guys are joining from. Let's see which part of the world we have covered today.
Yeah, got a lot of Europe. Welcome, Andrew. Thanks for joining.
Side, we'll probably need a magnifier. Okay. According to the map, I'm from Bulgaria.
No.
Yeah, we'll get you a recap. Don't worry, Carrie.
Yeah.
Hey, Linda. Welcome.
Okay, great.
Right. I think it's different timings for different people, so I know people will be joining in good time, and we'll have a bit of a recap as well. Hopefully, everyone can hear me okay. I got these special headphones. Brilliant, fantastic. Okay, you reckon we should crack on, Medea and Jessica? What do you think?
Yep,
I think so. Yeah.
I think, yeah, okay, awesome.
This is your show, Saad.
All right.
Yeah, okay, so again, welcome, guys. I'll do the introduction before Saad takes over, and let's see what he has cooked up for you today. So again, welcome. It's nice to see you all. I do see some new faces. So today I'm joined by Cheska, and who's very kindly hosting with us, helping us in the background. And we have Saad, who is our host for today. Okay, so before we start, as usual, you know what we do. But before that, if you just join in very quickly, just pin on the board where you're from. Now, while we're waiting for those who are just popping in, can I have a show of hands? Who is a butter person here? Or the other way around, who's not a butter person? Let's say who's not a butter person. So that we can get you familiar with the platform before we start. Okay, I've got one. Okay, just quickly a show of hands. How many of you have not used Butter before? You're not familiar. Okay, 1, 2. Okay, 2 people. All right. So, but just very quickly, we're going to look at a little bit intro to Butter. Okay. Stop. Okay. Oh, the flashcards just disappeared again, Cheska.
Open it up again. There.
Okay, there we go. All right. So let's do intro to Butter. So first of all, you'll notice on the left-hand panel, there's a ribbon. And that's where all the reactions are. Let's start with our emojis because we love our emojis. So we have a couple which probably you'll be using a lot. We have the thumbs up, with the thumbs down, and then we have the happy, the laugh. So you can hover over the react and you'll see all those emojis. And then if you just slightly move to the right, you'll see the soundboard. That'll give you all those very nice, amazing background sounds that you like. So there you go. Okay. All right. If you during the session you have a comment or a question, or you have an idea, you want to share something, you always have the chat, which you can see on the left-hand corner. You also have the raise hand and just the question mark as normal. Okay. Yep. If you want to have a go, just pop in and say hello in the chat for everyone to see. But yeah, that's an option for you if you don't feel comfortable unmuting yourself and sharing with the crowd. Yeah, Andrew, I can see that. Oh, Cheska, great. Right. And we also have a section where you can take notes throughout the session. These notes are going to be for you. So when the session ends, they will be saved in the room and you can download them anytime. Okay. Yeah, make sure you don't have any ad blockers so that you can, we have Miraboard today. So make sure you don't have any ad blockers that are going to block when we're going to view the Miraboard. Hope that makes sense. Okay. Right. Of course, as usual, and we love this because Zoom, this always happens to us. When mute yourself and unmute yourself whenever you want to have a chat. Okay. And you can press the letter V to turn on off your video if you don't feel comfortable. It doesn't. You can leave the video on throughout the session or during times in the session where you know it's on and off. It's perfectly fine. So, are we ready? Okay. So there you go. Are we ready? So let's do a thumbs up. Yeah. Great. Awesome. So I am now going to leave you in the hands of our host. But before that, I just want to let you guys know that we do record the session. So if you do not want to be recorded, like as before, you can turn off your video because we will be sharing this in the community. Anyway, so let's not waste any time. Let's see. I think Saad's finished cooking. Yep. So let's see what he's serving us. On to you, Saad.
Thanks so much, Madiha, and thanks so much everyone for joining as well. I'm really excited to share with you something that I've been cooking up, as Madiha says, and the aim is to, as much as I hope I can maybe leave you with some potential out-of-the-box ways to develop your employees or your leaders. I'm really looking forward to your feedback, actually, being that this is a sandbox. I wanted to give a big shout out to Madiha and Cheska for helping me put together this session and giving me feedback on it so far. And for helping me put together what I think is going to be a pretty awesome program. So without further ado, I will start. And I'm new to the facilitation of using this platform. I've used it as a participant, so just bear with me if I trip up a little bit here and there. So hopefully you should see the presentation now. That's all come through okay, fantastic. So trying to make sure that's I think that's an older version of the PowerPoint. We run into
Let me open the correct one there.
There we go. Awesome.
There we go.
Awesome. We'll skip past that since we've already had a bit of an introduction. So my name is Saad Qureshi. For those of you who don't know, by day I am a strategy and transformation lead at a very large housing company in the UK, based in London. But what I love to do, my real passion is helping managers, particularly beginner managers. And I've set up a small little organization, little company called Managerkind. It's a play on the word mankind, Managerkind, because I'm trying to want to help managers build a sort of local community for them that they can come and learn about what management is about. We train managers to be bold and kind at the same time. So to say the tough things, but with respect. And so we came up with what I thought was a pretty nifty title, Chief Empathy Officer. I've worked incredibly hard on actually finding the ways to say the right things to people and feeling, actually there are ways you can land tough messages or hard messages in the software and still achieve the same business result. So that's what I focus on. And I do a lot of training, a lot of out-of-the-box strategic competition debates and things like that. Mini stories is actually part of the out-of-the-box thinking that I do. And I wanted to share that with you today. So quickly moving on to the next slide. Here's the fun-filled, action-packed thing that I've set up for you today. We'll talk a little bit about what is future-proofing and why I decided to focus on this. We'll have a quick poll, a flashcard. But I really wanted to get into the meat of today, which is what are mini stories and why they're so beneficial and why am I using them? Why do I think that they're pretty helpful in helping employees develop their skills? But I wanted you to walk away with something really practical, something that you could use hopefully for yourselves or for your organizations, a 5-step framework for story creation. And then we'll get into the real exciting meat of today, which is a breakout activity. We'll do it in 2 parts. So there are effectively 2 bits to the activity. I'll give you a mini story that I've helped build, and I've got 8 mini stories, but today we'll just go through 1, and I'm focusing on another 30. I really believe in these mini stories as a way of equipping and upskilling employees. So I'll give you 1 today that we've already sort of worked on, and then hopefully your task today will be to build on that story and to hopefully give feedback. So what you will do today, I'll take away and find ways to incorporate your suggestions into not only the mini story that we'll look at today, but the other 30 that I've got as well, because I'm really confident. I really know that the feedback that you will give is going to be super valuable and insightful. So we'll spend most of our time, 20 minutes on there, and then we'll try and compare that to some of the pre-prepared answers that we've already got. So I've already developed the story end to end, but I've only given you a portion of it so that you can then, I would be fascinated to see what you guys come up with and see how it compares to what I've done. So that's what we've got today, just so you know what's coming up. I always feel as facilitators, we should give board direction of where we're going. In a nutshell, I think we've lost some of the animation in the slides because we've uploaded it as a PDF. So you'll have to forgive me for the lack of transitions in some of the context here, some of the content here. But what is future proofing? And what I thought would be useful is to describe how do organizations actually look at future proofing. So I've got a business context definition, and I've got a learning context. And within there's a little trick that I use here. I talk about it in business context and learning context because if you're in L&D or whether you're a facilitator, it's really important that we help convince senior executive leadership teams on why we're doing what we're doing. And what's really interesting about both just-in-time, which I believe is the opposite to future-proofing skills, they're both actual business methodologies. They're both business practices. And because some of our senior executives, they're incredibly commercial, they're strategic, they understand what these things mean. So as a result, when I apply them into learning context, I've already convinced them. They're already interested in understanding why they should invest in a future-proofing strategy to develop skills. So I think that's a bit of a hack that I use. So you probably already had a bit of a time to sort of scan through what future-proofing and just-in-time mean, but effectively future-proofing is just anticipating what might come down the track, future shocks and events that will potentially stress the business, and how do you put in place mechanisms to avoid those things becoming a negative impact and turn them into positives. So it could be, change in economic climate. Brexit is a good example. If you're from Europe and UK was leaving, we knew this was happening. So how do we put in place things now so it protects us from things that are happening in the future? When you apply that into the learning context, effectively means how do you anticipate future challenges that teams may face, and then provide them with the skills now so that you're not having to always provide things just in time, or you don't always feel behind the curve. Because let's face it, we always feel like we're being quite reactive in L&D, and if we're facilitating, we're always just getting it in time. And I won't go through just in time. You probably already know what that means. Just a lot of us use it now in day-to-day phrases. So where I transfer it into learning context, we probably heard the term learning in the flow of work. So just as a team member, a colleague needs that piece of learning, it magically appears through a push notification, very sophisticated. Or another way of doing it is, we need a training tomorrow or yesterday. We deliver it just in time for here and now. So that's what just in time is, but how do we move towards a more low-cost approach to sort of future-proofing? That's essentially what the two things are. Since Brexit, Europe now has 1 gigabyte of free space. Absolutely true. Probably a lot more, actually. Say thank you for that. Feel free to keep your comments going. I'll try and look at the comments as much as I can. So a quick thing for you. I'll start the spectrum here, the poll. Let me close that. Actually, hold on. Right. See if you can pop on the screen where you think you find yourself at the moment. Do you design sort of for here and now? Or do you think you're in a place where you might be designing for skills that are coming down the track? No right or wrong answer. If you do a bit of both, you could pop yourself in the middle. Most people are so far on the just-in-time side. Couple popping up in the middle. Is it Jagan? Did I pronounce your name correctly? Just in case you can hear, you might not be able to hear me. Yeah, we've got most people bunched up sort of towards the middle and then the left-hand side. Well, let's see if we can shift some thinking and perspectives on how it might look like in the future. So thank you for taking part in that. We'll move on. Okay. Go back to the slides. So what are mini stories? So I'm a big fan of case-based learning or case studies. Have any of you ever learnt through a case study where you get effectively a description on a business? Yeah, a few thumbs up. Yeah, a bit of a scenario. It's used a lot in health. So what would he do to treat a patient who presented you with these kinds of symptoms? If a person came to you for legal advice, what kind of legal advice would you give if they presented to you with this kind of legal issue? So I'm a big fan of case studies. This effectively takes mini stories, takes that concept to another level. I really want it to be fun, really want it to be modern, because typically what you find in mini stories or case studies is they're often on quite niche areas, niche industries like health or law. And if they're on companies, they're business focused and they're on very, really large organizations. They're very rarely skills based. They're very focused on the subject matter, subject discipline that you're in. And so what I wanted to do was make mini stories or case-based learning incredibly accessible to people and to train managers by using the stories to build skills. They are inspired by true events. So even though you'll see here that some of them will use fictitious names of organizations or characters, actually they are based on real events. If you went onto the news, you'd probably find something that's very familiar there. I'll talk to you a little bit about what actually mini stories contain and what are the components, the 5 components. What I've done is really try to have a lot more fun with it. So you'll see that taking case studies into mini stories, each mini story has what looks like a front book cover. We're also exploring with potentially having sort of posters that like movies might have as well, just to make it incredibly sort of more entertaining and fun. And you'll see they can't quite make it out, but each one has a bit of a blurb or a log line that you will see if you're scrolling through Netflix and you see like a tile of a movie that you like. You'll often see a little blurb underneath it. So on Heart overhead, you'll see, can you help Meridian Housing navigate new regulatory change? A big test is about to hit the housing provider. So it's designed to sort of capture people's imaginations from sort of day one. It takes a lot of time, but once you get it right, it's great. And the aim is to really get people to put themselves in the shoes of the characters. Here are what I believe are the 3 benefits of using mini stories. Thanks, Jessica. At least 3 benefits. It really helped me understand the business operations a lot more. I've been fortunate that I've always been both in business and scaling and growing revenue and products, as well as in L&D. I've always had a dual role. So I've never known anything different to what you see on the right there, being a dual facilitator or sort of dual L&D lead. But at the same time, I know there are a lot of colleagues who struggle to understand the business context and get colleagues in that part of their business to engage with them. The case study or the mini story is effectively about the business issue, the business challenge. So it really forces that collaboration between the SME and the L&D or the facilitator to really co-create the business scenario. And not just that, the ideal responses to it as well. It's better than policies and procedures, which a lot of companies use to try and tell organizations how they should operate or respond to a certain situation. The mini stories, but policies and procedures, as you can imagine, are very theoretical. These are very practical cases, and it allows you to get into that space of being a bit of an SME yourself and learning about the business challenge. And it's really based on the skills. So it's not really focused on just the context. They're all focused on skills, as I'll come to shortly as well. And it's suitable for different modes. So you can be facilitated, it could be self-directed, and some of our, in fact, all of our mini stories are self-directed. And then with some of the organizations I work with, I use them as part of a larger sort of cohort live workshop that I deliver in person as well. So they can be really used in different modes too. Here's that 5-step framework that I spoke to you about. It's really high level. If anyone would like a more detailed 1 to 2 page checklist, please drop me a line. There's my contact details at the end, and I'll happily provide you with the more detailed checklist. But just for today, I wanted to give you a very high level view. 5 steps. Firstly, you identify what is the business issue. So it could be that there's a loss of contract. You've got several different contracts and you have key account managers and you would like to train them. Will do, Carrie. I'll send that through. The key thing is to focus on the business challenge. And the great thing is that you can source these really easily. You just need to do a retrospect. Let's say, what happened in the last 6 months? What were the strengths? What would be the issues in terms of risks that the company has faced? And what actual capabilities do you want to give your employees to be able to tackle a certain particular business issue? So as I say, if you want to train key account managers, it could be, how do you avoid losing a client? There may be a scenario where that's actually happened, or you've had a real dissatisfied client. And as a result, you can use that and just make it a bit fictitious and anonymize it. Then it's about what skill and behavior do you want your colleagues to learn. In this case, is maintaining a high level of customer satisfaction, customer service, and relationship management, because that's what key accounts is effectively about. That's just an example I'm giving, but you may be able to come up with one yourself. And I'll give you one example of how we've taken exactly this 5-step framework and put it into a story, a real issue that was faced. Then you take those 2 things, you convert it into the scenario. I won't go into too much detail here because we've got a practical case later. You then get the learner to put themselves in the shoes of that character or that issue, that challenge, and conduct and read the story, and then conduct what is a knowledge check or an assessment. And then finally, give them a tips or a cheat sheet that they can take away, which will explain to them the various different ways, other ways they could have responded to that business issue, and what will be the ideal strategic, commercial, business-like way of responding to that challenge. In some cases, they may have already responded in the way you suggested. For us, I create them as a downloadable so that they can take them away, they can use them. The key thing being is that if these are done in the right way, and someone has picked up the skill, when this issue presents itself in the future, they can refer back to the learning that they've done here. They can even have the cheat sheet with them to say, okay, here's what I do. Most companies, when they don't develop this stuff. If they do have business processes and sort of policies and procedures, they are not very practical. They're not very usable. They're not very easy to understand. So that's what the 5-step framework story creation is. And here's an example of how I applied it. So I used to work for a company called Navitas. I was an executive general manager there, and I led a global team of a couple hundred people in the European division. The company itself is global. It has 7,000 employees, but in Europe, they had 400, and 200 of those report to me, indirectly, of course, through my direct reports. And one of the biggest challenges we were facing, our managers were struggling supporting colleagues with neurodiverse needs or different personalities. And I found they were really struggling to address and get to the root cause of some of the business performance challenges. And this could be any performance. I'm just using business performance as an example here. And they were doing what I would call looking at surface level issues, but not really looking into the underlying challenges. And so I wanted to use and try if I could use mini stories as a way to help them develop these 2 skills. So these are the 2 skills. I'm being really clear up front. As I said earlier, the business challenge this was leading to was a dip in our sales performance. So being really clear on the first 2 skills is really important, because then you will build your entire mini story around this. And this is an example of 2 or more issues, which I would call an intersectional issue. And here is an example of a mini story. So I took that example that I just gave you on another company called Navitas, but actually turned it into a fictitious story on a company called Atomic Furniture. And you could have so much fun here. You could choose any industry you like. You can actually, I went into Canva and I created a logo. And what I'm actually building is a universe of characters. So this is going to be like the next Marvel, you know what I mean? I've got 30 mini stories already, 30 characters. And at some point, there'll be a crossover between Miriam in Atomic Furniture with Charlene from Diego Supplies. So I'm hoping that we could create a little bit of a mini universe of characters. What you'll also see is an immersive header right at the top. this is where I love your feedback, because I've given you this story actually as part of the breakout activity. You can rip it apart and say, actually, I don't like this story when you get to the breakout activity, and totally replace it with your own. I would love for that to happen. Or you could just chop and change a few things. I would love to get your feedback. Really immersive header, because it's about furniture, is designed to put them in the shoes, right? The learner in the shoes of the character. So we thought the best way we could do this is by having top header for every mini story will be something about the company where they're working. So if it's a hospital, we'll have something to do with patients at the top there, just to draw them in and immerse them into this learning context. We've also got the lead character in this story is Mariam, who's a store manager at Atomic Furniture. Do you normally co-create a story with different stakeholders in the business? Absolutely. It's a key thing to build them with the business. So I wouldn't have been able to develop much of this without understanding. I may have some knowledge myself, but I kind of almost assume I have no knowledge, even though I've led a very large team. I will ask them all the questions. What are the challenges? What commercial outcome are you looking for? What skills are you seeking, etc.? So absolutely, yeah, great question. And use inclusive characters. So we have names from Africa, from China, from Eastern Europe, from UK, from America. So we use incredibly inclusive characters. And what you'll see here are, in this case, as you might remember, there were two particular skill sets that we were looking for colleagues to develop. And that was moving beyond surface level issues, because managers now need to get under the skin of some of this stuff to really fix not the symptoms, but drive change by addressing the deep issues. So we need to make sure that our mini story, start with beginners in mind. Absolutely, Romy. So it's how we need to include the surface level issues within here, but then make sure that we start to flesh out some of the more different challenges. So you'll see that we've got the strategic and commercial challenges there as well. So in this case, that there's a poor culture and team environment, staff feel overworked. It's partly because of Jane, who's the store team lead, and Mariam needs to figure out how to develop and support Jane, who actually happens to have dyslexia, which is causing her difficulties in communicating with her team. And that's where we introduce the neurodiversity. And so you can see that within a very short space of time, we've been able to introduce various different issues. There's a whole debate on how long should these mini stories be. I would love for your feedback on that. Do you think this is enough information? That will come in the breakout activity. So that gives you a sense a little bit about what a mini story includes. I guess before I move on, does anyone have any, thoughts or questions at this stage about the example mini story? Feel free to put them in the chat. I'm happy to spend a minute. We're a little bit ahead of schedule, so that's great. Yeah, I can see the comments. Okay. Awesome. I'll move on. I can't see any questions yet. Shall we get to
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Shall we move on to the exciting bit then and get stuck into improving? Yeah, okay. See lots of fires. All right. Okay. So here's a breakout activity. We'll do it in two parts. 20 minutes in total, 10 minutes for each for part 1 and 10 minutes for part 2. It's all related to the Atomic Furniture story for both parts. For the first part, I would love to get your feedback on, given it's a sandbox, how can we improve the story? So that text you had there with the images, how could we improve it? For example, how can we make it more personable so that people can really relate and put themselves genuinely in the shoes of Mariam? When we go to the Miro board, you'll actually get a copy of the story, so you'll be able to edit it. You can add more information on the team dynamics, on the specific business issues, on Jane's neurodiversity. Is there enough information in there? You could introduce a new character if you like. And you've got Jane and Mariam so far. You might want to introduce Andrew into the mix. Who knows? And then we'll come back together after part 1 and really get your thoughts on how you found the story itself and whether you felt like, or emotions. Absolutely. Yeah, take your imagination away and you can include emotions and lots of different dynamics. Anything to help the learner understand, empathize with the context more, the better. We'll then come back after part 1, get your thoughts, and then we'll go back into part 2. And there you will just add the knowledge check. You've been given an example of one of the knowledge checks, and if you could add at least 2 if you can, that would be awesome. and you could chop and change and anything as you wish. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. See if, yeah, a couple of open sort of thumbs up. So I think I'm just going to start the Miro board, and I believe they should be taken straight to the Miro board, Cheska. They won't need to sign in, will they? Or will they need? Oh, there's a question.
Okay, let's start with the question first from Nargis.
Go for it,
Nargis, you're up.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So the one of the bullets is there other info you can add to help learners develop 2 skills. What are the 2 skills we're trying to add here?
Great. So the 2 skills are, first one is helping managers or employees learn how to support team members with neurodiverse needs. So in this case, dyslexia.
Mm-hmm.
And the second skill is how to diagnose root causes of business issues. So in this case, there's a sales problem, but that's a surface level issue. There's something deeper happening beneath there, and that's what we need to include enough detail in the mini story so that the learner knows what to do to address those 2 issues, which are in and of themselves 2 skills. Those 2 skills, with all of this guidance and more, are in the Miro board as well, just in case you forget. Great, thank you for that.
Do we have any more questions before we put people out into breakouts? Going.
Question. I have got a question about the Miro board. Do we already have the link for the Miro board?
It will be there as soon as you get into the breakout room. So
okay. You don't have put it inside somewhere, okay, to click it.
No,
okay.
no need.
Okay,
So I'll assign people. No problem. Saad, any other final instructions before?
No, let's go. I'm super excited.
Okay, let's go.
Let's go.
Okay, so everyone will be assigned to, I think we'll have 2 groups for now. You'll all be assigned to a specific part of the Miro board. And as Saad mentioned, the instructions are already there. If you need anything, just feel free to ask for help so we can jump over to you. Okay, see you soon.
Thank you, guys. Good luck. Thank you.
Hey, just ended. Let me play some music while we're. Do you want to open the Miro board again?
Yeah.
While waiting.
How do I do that?
Let me do it for you. There.
Okay, people are coming back.
Okay.
Oh, we're back.
Hey. Is that everyone back in the room?
Romy, but she was having some audio issues, so she might be back. And Scott might have dropped out as well.
Okay, no worries, no worries. Okay, well, I had the pleasure of joining both rooms, so I loved everything that I was hearing in there. Some fantastic ideas. Does anyone want to from each of the groups just sort of summarize some of the observations or some of the improvements that you came up with to the story? Let's try this group one here, this very first board on the screen. That was Carrie and Nargis, was it? Yeah. Who would like to? Yeah. Can someone from that group one give us a bit of a summary? That would be awesome.
Okay. Hi. So we struggled a little bit trying to get to use the board. So apologies, we didn't get as far as we would have liked, but we talked a little bit about not knowing. We needed a little bit more information about Jane's Miriam's experience as a leader to help us through that learning context. We felt that there was still lacking a little bit of context around this culture that's been created by Jane. And Nargis mentioned a little bit about that some pieces seemed a little bit too wordy for a mini story. So that could use some improvement. And then we were just being really crystal clear on what is the skill that we're actually trying to teach them. So is Miriam trying to identify root cause? Is she supposed to do performance? Is she supposed to is it about teaching her how to give feedback to Jane to be so a little bit still unclear on what the objective was.
Oh,
and that's as far as we got it.
Oh, that's pretty far. Thank you for that. I've made notes, and those are really great 4 or 5 developments, and I totally agree with you all. I love the fact that you said some of the text is a bit too wordy for a mini story. That's great. I love the richness in what you're trying to do with the character. And I agree with you that there's a lot in here, isn't there? Even though there's only 6 paragraphs, there is elements of performance conversation in here. But that really wasn't the intention. But maybe that's the direction we could go. So I really love that. Thank you so much for sharing that.
So I had just one more comment. I think if you're trying to use a mini story, I think it would be easier to teach one skill versus multiple skills. So you wanted to address, a learning skill for the manager, but also address the strategic piece. And so I think that would get a little bit too complex. So I would probably just try and use a scenario for one learning skill and then and see where that goes.
I think you're right. I think you're spot on. Okay. Anything else? Great. Thank you for that. What about group 2? Anyone want to nominate? Sorry, I'm getting lots of sunshine. Finally, after waiting for so long, it's I feel very angelic right now. Anyone from group 2 who'd like to give their feedback?
Thank you. I think I really love listening to your ideas, so I'd love to hear you also present, if that makes sense.
Are you nominating someone else? Andrew's come off mute, or Say's come off mute. Why don't you both co-create,
Okay.
co-deliver?
Perfect. Let's get some quick questions.
Let's talk simultaneously. I just start somewhere, and Andrew, feel free to.
Yeah, I think there's a challenge with keeping it short because we wanted more context. We wanted more examples. So when, for example, there was a situation where Jane has come in hard, it's quite difficult for us to visualize what that looks like. So maybe a short excerpt from that conversation or just some examples that would help it bring it to life would be useful. And I think that segues quite nicely onto the next piece, but maybe one of the others can share that one.
Yes, I do want to take this one over. I think you brought up a really great point in terms of giving examples of what neurodiversity could look like or challenges that they're facing.
I was.
Oh.
Yeah, just addition, because for me myself, it's also just hard. Even if it's just one page of text, it's hard to follow along and to get everything or get to the point. However, I already quoted this today to someone. If you know Jerry Seinfeld, he explains how he writes his jokes, and he says, and he writes down a joke. You know, it's maybe, I don't know, it's a long joke, and then he cuts out single words as long as it doesn't make any sense anymore, and then he adds the last word that gave the whole sentence a structure and made it a joke. Just saying, if there's a lot of words to go through that are maybe not really beneficial or adding anything to the story itself. So just to keep it short, I think that it's a really nice approach. Throw everything away where you think, okay, doesn't help until the story doesn't make any sense anymore. And then just add the last 2 or 3 words to it so that it's still, even for somebody who has difficulties in reading text or writing text or coming up with ideas, to just keep it simple. But yeah, and as already said, having like little quotes and examples for things that we all experience differently helps a lot in this kind of stories. And when there's nobody speaking in a story, it's always hard to or harder to imagine what it's about.
Yeah, no, these are really valid points. Thank you so much. I've made a note of all of those. I would like to build on that and sort of move on to the next activity that we have. Cheska, how much time do we have left? We've had too much fun.
We have 8, yeah, we have, which is always a good thing. But in this case, that leaves us with 8 minutes. So maybe 1 knowledge check and 4 minutes in the breakouts.
Yeah. So when I move around on the Miro board on the screen, does it move? So can you now see step 2, add a knowledge check on the screen?
I think I can summon everyone to me, if that helps. Would that?
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah. So in step 2, because we've only got a few minutes, rather than adding 2 knowledge checks, you've got an example of 1. Add just 1 more knowledge check. It could be an MCQ, an open-end question, or whatever you like, and just take a couple of minutes doing that, and then we'll wrap up the session. So we'll send you back into the groups now.
Okay, and then 3 minutes. Would that be all right with everyone? Okay, then we'll see you guys in a bit. 1 knowledge check. Okay, is everyone back yet?
It's me, or it seems like there's a delay.
Okay, yeah, the 20-second delay.
We could say maybe
Yeah.
clarifying questions.
They're coming
Oh,
in.
sorry.
Okay, well, welcome back, everybody. I think everyone's back in the main room now. Just a massive thank you. We won't have time to necessarily go through. I don't know if you were able to. I can see one of the groups has added their question on here.
Very lesson.
Did group one? Did you manage to add a little something? A comment? That's
Carrie
and
still with us?
Nargis. It's okay.
Maybe we can start group 2 first.
Yeah, start group 2. Yeah, just very briefly. Anyone from group 2, just quickly. You've written what are clarifying questions we can ask them to make sure everyone is on the same page. Okay, so that's your suggestion for a question. Were you struggling with the options, were you? Or was that an open-ended question?
I think time was the limit to think further about it. So
yeah,
we were struggling in general to figure out maybe a good question to ask. So that was our last stone at the end, I think, probably.
Yeah. Nah, no problem. What Cheska, Medea, and I were talking about is whether we could put this on the do it offline in the Butter community, in the forum, maybe, and to just get more feedback that way. And I'd love to keep going with you guys anyway. Just shoot me any ideas, and I'm gonna connect with each of you on LinkedIn as well. So I'd love to keep the conversation flowing. Thanks again for this. I'll just do a final sort of roundup for you all. I hope that was fun, if not useful, something that you can do in your consider as out of the box way to develop your team. And we're going to build these. We've got 30 mini stories. How mini is a mini story is a theme that's come out today. If you'd like to use the mini stories as activities yourself as a starting point and you want to build on them, you're more than welcome. I'm going to give them out like for free. They're on a platform that I use where they can be self-directed and you can send your learners in. So, and I can create you instructor spaces on there as well if you like. So you're more than welcome. Please just let me know. I'm going to start the final session for us, which is just, how did that end
that
up?
might be a different one. This is the correct one, yeah.
Okay. Let me head back to that. Okay, so this just gives you a sense of the pre-prepared sort of MCQ. What should she think about to turn around the performance of the store? What were the surface level issues? And it sort of continued to sort of build up from there. I did want to give you a copy of the cheat sheet, but I just ran out of time to screen grab the cheat sheet. And they do look pretty awesome, actually. But hopefully maybe another time. The key thing was to spend time on the story and get your feedback on it. And really, that's pretty much it. So thank you again. That's my LinkedIn. Please feel free to reach out. And massive thanks to Medea and Cheska again for helping me navigate through today. Absolutely wouldn't have been possible without you. So yeah, this is a reflection moment, Cheska. Do you want to do this?
Do this as a last call while people are thinking through and like trying to take a picture of Saad's LinkedIn. Please connect with them and give them feedback. What else were your biggest takeaways and aha moments from this session? And as with any sandbox, this is really a workshopping. Like we want to give inputs on how Saad can also improve on his material. So please share what elements of this session worked for you and what didn't work and what you think should be changed. Anything else from your end, guys? To my two beautiful co-hosts.
All good from me. What about you, Medea?
Oh no, I'm good. I was just enjoying the people talking and creating, so I enjoyed that bit. But if you do feel like sharing something, you're free to write in the chat or in the checkout box that we have here, if you feel like it.
As always, thank you guys. Thanks for all your time.
Thanks so
I'll
much.
be dropping the LinkedIn here as well and some resources which might help. So please feel free to visit that in chat. And have a good rest of the day.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye all.
Bye.
Oh, I like that.
I'm just looking through some of the takeaways. That's good.
Okay. Can we bring them up on screen, or is it like behind the scenes?
Sorry. Yeah, of course. Let me just close this one.
Oh, we still have people.
Yeah, I think people want to stay back and share their feedback.
I thought they were all gone. Shall I stop recording?
Okay, I think I'll just mute you guys. I don't know where that is.
I'm gonna stop the recording because I don't think we